Thanks for listening to the Tech Tools for Teachers podcast, where each week we talk about a free piece or two of technology that you can use in your classroom. I'm your host, Shanna Martin. I'm a middle school teacher, technology coach, and personalized learning coordinator for my district.
And I'm her husband/producer, Fuzz Martin.
You're my... What did we came up last week? There was a name for it.
I forgot already.
You're my fuzzband?
Fuzzband, yes. I'm her fuzzband.
Yes.
I find it hilarious, before we get started, that we do a show about tech tools for teachers, and you are a teacher talking about tech tools, and you do all of your show notes on Post-it notes stuck to your computer.
I do.
That's high technology.
I would like to point out that all my teacher friends out there know the value of a Post-it note and the amount of Post-it notes I use in my classroom for lists to myself. My students reflect on them. I have write a little note, stick it on the way out the door. Everything is on Post-it notes. Now, mind you, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 tabs open on my computer.
Yikes. Do you have a Post-it note that tells you which each tab is?
Nope. I also have a Google task list, and my Google Keep is full.
Wow.
So when I need to find something, as I'm talking about, the Post-it right in front of me is like a checklist that I can write on.
Oh, gotcha.
While I'm flipping between tabs and my Trello board and everything else.
It works for
so
you.
So that's why I have
saying.
the Post-it notes. I do have all the information, but I also need the Post-its for my thoughts.
Gotcha.
And then I scribble on them and I cross things out as
I'm a whiteboard guy. So
you are. We have a giant whiteboard in our basement.
We do have a giant whiteboard in our basement. I have a giant whiteboard at my office that I
it's like this
frequently
it's the wall. Yeah.
And I use a stand-up desk, so I just kind of run back and forth between my computer and the whiteboard. But that's just how I visualize things. So I get it. I just thought it was funny because we talk about technology and
I use all my tools.
Sticky paper.
I love... But that is a form of technology. Technology is whatever you make it to be. At one point, that paper was not sticky.
That's right. And at one point, you would have had to do your podcast
slate.
notes etch it into a rock.
Right? See? And we would just be yelling and hoping people hear us someplace.
Right.
So there you go.
Very true.
Technology has changed over time, but it's still a piece of technology.
Perfect.
Yes.
So we'll provide a link
to
to Post-its in the technology discussed in this episode.
It's funny because here, if we're going to talk about Post-its for a second, I don't like the pale yellow Post-its. I prefer colors, but I'll use anything. But my favorite are the lined Post-its. To me, a lined Post-it is amazing.
It's do they charge more for the lines?
Yeah, those ones just cost more in general.
Do they really?
Because they're slightly bigger.
Oh, okay.
But not like the giant lined ones, because they make 5x7 lined ones, and then that takes away the purpose of a Post-it. You might as well just use a notebook.
Yeah.
But the larger square lined Post-its. Okay.
That said, I do use a moleskin, a little.
Yeah,
moleskin.
you carry a little notebook around with you all the time too, and you change them out.
That's right.
There you go. See,
right.
Technology.
All right, fine. You win.
In computer format and in paper format.
Yeah.
Cool.
Good.
So.
What are we talking about today?
Yeah. So. We all know that I like a theme, but this week's theme is things that make me happy. It's not even a real theme. It's highlights from my week this week.
Okay.
So there's a couple of websites that I've known about, but I haven't really dug into, and one of them someone sent to me and was like, hey, you do your podcast, check out this website.
Okay.
And so I found them, and all three of these came from different places, but they just are cool, and I want to share them because I think to get these going or use them in classrooms, and I'm sure teachers already use them, and you're like, why are you talking about this now? And it just came into my life, so I'm just happy to share them.
Yeah.
So you may think that I'm behind the times on a couple of these, but hey, it's still technology.
It is.
And we're addressing it.
We are. By the way, you may hear in the background.
The snoring dog
is
on fire tonight.
She is sawing a log.
So anyway, we have 3 websites today, and the topics, I'm going to pretend to tie them together, but they don't really tie together. The first one is called storytimefromspace.com. StorytimeFromSpace.com.
Okay.
So literally
spell it out.
Yeah. Spell it out. It is so cool.
It is really cool.
It's Storytime from
Our
Space.
youngest uses it all the time now.
Yeah, I showed it to her. She's obsessed with space anyway. But basically, what it is, it's a sponsored website, and it's like nonprofit, and they have sent a collection of books to the astronauts at the International Space Station, and they read the stories on video.
Yep.
And then while you're watching the video of the actual astronauts, and they talk too, like, hey, like, I wanted to be an astronaut when I was 3 years old too, and I worked hard and I persevered. So like they teach life lessons while they're reading these picture books.
And floating
And like holding on to things because they're really actually in space, really doing their normal job.
Yep.
But they send all these books up to space, and so then they read the books. And then what's cool is they have also then side-by-sided the video with the actual book, so you can see the pages of the book. So it's not just them reading it, but you can actually see the pictures and stuff too. Some of the other videos, actually, some of them like flip back and forth between pictures and the reading. But it is so cool. And then they'll point out, today we were watching one, and they're like, oh, and we orbit around the Earth 16 times a day. Here we go now. And they like zoom out the camera, and you could see them flying over Earth. And then he went back to reading the book. Like, it is
that's cool.
Super cool. And they're highly engaging. And they have books, like their current books, like Ada Twist Scientist and Astronaut Annie, which we've read about 400 times in this house now. And then they have like Rosie Revere Engineer, but then they have Max, which is a dog who goes to space. So they have Max Goes to Jupiter and Max Goes to Mars, and they have a couple of them, one or two, read in Spanish as well.
Oh, cool.
Which is cool.
Yeah.
And they have like the Incredible Intergalactic Journey Home and The Wizard Who Saved the World, and they have like 20 books at least for Storytime videos. So you just go to the website, and they have like a curriculum button where you can click on. You can tell that they're kind of loading in curriculum. They don't have a ton, but they do have some for Newton's laws. And then if you click on Science Time videos, they talk about like free falling and then why you fall so fast and astronaut height, and all of those are based around Newton's laws. So it's the astronauts explaining Newton's laws on video in space.
That's cool.
Again, very cool. Then the Storytime videos, that's where they read them all.
Yep.
And then they have books where they have a library list basically of all of the books they read. And then you can have a summary, and then, if you want to go order them on Amazon, like, you can go do that. And they have a store with like 2 little cute Rosie Revere posters, but she's dressed in astronaut suits. So I'm pretty sure that will be downloaded in our house at some point.
Right.
But what a cool site. Just what a cool way to get books to kids. And
I think it's interesting that they have physical copies of all the books that they sent up there. Like, how much does it cost to send a book into space with them? Like, because they weigh,
Yep.
they've got weight.
Yep.
And then instead of just using a Kindle or
something,
load it up with a bunch of books and
or just have them even memorize it, or have it on a piece of paper and then just recite the book or talk about it, but they actually physically read page by page in the book. It's also cool that they bring in other things. So that one of the astronauts was talking about how they have Velcro on their socks because they stick to everything, and then so you're learning. Their
socks got all
she's like, roughed up. Yeah, so my socks are all fluffy, and then her hair is flying all over the place, and it's just and they explain what part of the ship they're in. Anyway, it's just very. As we're geeking out over this too.
They showed
here's the airlock, and then here's the spacesuits that we.
Here's spacesuit number 1 and spacesuit number 2, and we keep them here so they don't get damaged, and it's really neat.
So it's not. I mean, the stories are cool, but then the lessons are learning at the same time. And you and I are both it's so cool because we've been watching these this week, and so what a fun thing to bring into your classroom. And if you're teaching kids to read independently. They can listen or watch, and they could be flipping through the books in your classroom and stuff too, because they're very, they're relevant books. So, anyway, very cool. So storytimefromspace.com.
Yep.
Check this site out if you haven't used it in your classroom. And even though they're picture books, I'm a firm believer that picture books can go all the way up through the grade levels because you can learn so much and tie them to so many things that you could use these.
And go all the way up to space.
Woo! Look at you. But definitely bring them in with anybody. I will be showing them with my 8th graders later this week because it's pretty cool.
Cool.
So that's the first one. The second one, here we go. We're going to tie this in.
Yeah.
We're going to do a storyboard creator because we
Okay.
just did story time from space. So now we're going to do a
Yes.
storyboarding. We're just storyboarding.
You're right, yes. In fact, one of the storyboards in the example that we have on the website says, have a good flight. So that all really ties together.
Ooh, see, I am connecting
You
these.
totally did that on purpose.
Yes.
I don't know if you can hear my eyes roll.
So they just fell to the back of your head. Blink. So we have talked about Canva before. Canva offers a million different things when you're coming to create posters and everything you can, like flyers and,
Any kind of design.
Yeah.
You're thinking of social media graphics,
all the creative
graphics for
things.
presentations.
So Canva, in their little like tucked away templates that you don't always come across, is
Yep.
that Canva has a template for storyboards. But I always skip over it. I don't realize it. I have to use it as a site itself almost.
Okay.
I don't know if that makes sense. Because I feel like it gets lost in the mix of everything else Canva.
Sure, yeah.
So it's canva.com/create/storyboards/
Or just slash, yeah.
or slash. Sorry, I'm not as cool as you.
Backslash is like,
1985.
Yeah.
Okay. Canva.com/create/storyboards.
I mean, you do you,
Slash.
but I'm just saying, it's like we'll give you our
It's
AOL
like retro
address.
week. I've got Post-it notes, and I said backslash.
We'll give you
so
our AOL address at the end of this podcast.
we'll
and
be using dial-up.
We'll give
this
you a
week.
CD with 600 free hours.
Yes. Okay. So Canva Storyboards is a storyboard creator. But what's cool is, like, we've talked about Storyboard that before, where there's a lot of cartooning.
Yeah.
This is going to be storyboarding with photos or design. So,
I mean, if you have, so you pull in the images that help tell the story and set up what the storyboard would be. But if you have, like, if you're using one of the cartooning type programs that we've talked about, and
yeah, like Animate or something.
and yeah, if you take some of those animations and put those in as, I mean, you could do it that way.
Absolutely.
You could do drawings, you could do stick figures, put them in.
Yeah.
But this, so you can use regular images and drop
Correct.
them into this.
And what's kind of nice about this one is where some of the others before, like Storyboard that, which are very kid friendly and very like cutesy and education, like more for kids. Canva still has that professional look to it. So if you are using older kids, or if they're putting together something a little more formal,
Right.
it looks a lot nicer. Like if they're doing like a how-to video or a how-to plan, it'd be really nice to have like photographs, like step by step, and lay that plan out.
Yeah.
Or sometimes when kids are doing demonstration speeches, like they need the poster or like something behind them where they have like the plan laid out. Even I was thinking, like, our science teacher is doing parts of a cell this week.
Yeah.
And she has the kids do like mock Instagram posts and stuff.
Yeah, sure.
But this would be really cool because they could make it look like pages off, like
Separate little Instagram
like
stories.
Instagram stories, but it would all be in one project place. So it's one of those where it's Canva. We've used it before, but if you want a storyboard, you can do the photos, and then on the left-hand side, you can scroll through just like you can with anything in Canva, upload their pictures. They have the elements, so they have all those different little fun shapes and grids and charts and those types of things you can add. You can put video into it if you want to. I think you've used Canva videos before. I think we talked about that a little bit last time. Again, of course, there's text and there's like background colors and things like that. So it's a little less cartoony and a little more professional looking if you want more of a formal presentation type storyboard,
Right.
or a how-to explanation or a piece like that. So it's kind of fun. The kids just did how-to videos in my computers class, and we did them all in WeVideo. But now I'm looking back at this, like when they present that, I would love to have them block out their how-to before the video plays and explain the steps to us on one of these.
Yeah.
And then play their video.
Cool.
So I just think that was a fun little highlight. It was like running through. I'm like, oh, I keep forgetting that would be a great thing to share with everybody.
So that's Canva Storyboard, and that's available on the free version?
Yes.
Cool.
Yep. And then you can just download and share just like any other Canva.
Cool.
And
Schnazzy.
It is schnazzy.
Speaking of.
Schnazzy?
Yeah. The next one is pretty schnazzy.
It is pretty schnazzy. I'm like, you're stealing my words here. I have a shirt on it now that says schnazzy.
Yeah, you have a shirt that says schnazzy. It's a pretty schnazzy shirt.
Yeah, it's hashtag schnazzy.
Yeah.
It's the best word ever. So, tying Canva into the next schnazzy site. The site is called DesignCap.
Mm-hmm. So the word design and then CAP.com.
So DesignCap.com.
Mm-hmm.
It is similar to Canva.
It is.
Similar.
Yes.
Like the setup is similar, but the options are a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go to DesignCap, you can log in with Google.
Great.
And then on the home page, right away, you pick your category. So Canva, you always have to like template it. So here you pick your category. Like, what do you want? Infographic, flyer, card, brochure, like the usual. But they also have social media specific things.
Okay.
So then like YouTube channel art, Facebook covers, Tumblr banners, Facebook posts, Pinterest graphics, Twitter headers, emails, Instagram. So you can skew them more
so you
social
have
media related.
The right size.
Yeah. And then you just click get started.
Mm-hmm. And
you get your little like choices. Again, go through, pick something that's interesting to you. And like YouTube channel art. And my kids are always trying to like jazz up their YouTube. But they do have YouTube channels like through school stuff. Like with your school email, any email you can use it. And so sometimes like, oh, I want to like jazz up my channel. I'm like, this is your school account. Make sure it's appropriate.
Right.
There's always reminders that need to happen. But anyway, so like cards, you can pick a card. Actually, I played around with a card and there will be a fun little card on the
blog post.
On the blog post. Because they have a Thanksgiving one in here and it's like, hey. I think I changed up the wording. So it's like, don't forget to shop for your turkey. But there's a lot of cool designs and a lot of free choices here, which to me is the best part. Like, you've got a handful of them that have the little diamond on them, but most of them are pretty free. Mm-hmm. And it's a lot of kind of graphic-y, cool, just different art. And then you can choose and change your graphics just like any like design site. So on the left-hand side, pick graphic. You have lines and shapes and all those kinds of things you can drag and drop in. Add photos. You can upload things, change your text, change your background, all that kind of stuff. But what's cool about this is, again, kind of similar to Canva, but the kids can design and are free to design as much as they need to. So if they're putting together a poster for a presentation, or like our kids just put together a holiday dance, or like now they're doing food drives and things like that, instead of just busting out a Google Doc, which we all know they can do.
Yeah.
I like to throw new sites at them to make them uncomfortable and have to problem solve. Okay, you know it's a design site. You know you have all these choices on the side. Now figure out how to make it, because everything is not always going to be just handed to you. You might have to.
And the more experience you get problem solving this stuff, the better you get in real world.
Right. So DesignCap has really fun, cool designs. I think students would be engaged. There's a lot of more social media kind of choices that they get to use. And what's cool is that you can just download them as a JPEG.
Oh.
Like, that's it. Like, just download it and then you can print them.
Cool.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of ins and outs and public and not public. Like, you just download your design and print it.
DesignCap wants you to use it.
Yes.
And get hooked and maybe buy some
premium
stuff.
Yeah.
And then, whereas Canva kind of did that at the beginning and has gotten pretty big. And we even have now at the agency, we have a professional premium version of Canva that some of our social media team uses because it makes things pretty fast and easy. And instead of recreating everything in Photoshop. So.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And like our students, we talked about Wakelet a little bit before too, and they can make like the banners for the top of their Wakelet pages and stuff too. So just quick way to make professional looking designs, and then get comfortable using different types of websites, quick download or print it, and it's ready to go, which is awesome. So
yeah, that's great. So that's DesignCap.com.
Yes. So check it out. Have your students dig around with it. Like just have them dig and play and create something cool and yeah.
And share something with us.
Yeah, that would be super fun. I always like see my student work all the time, and I get to see the other teachers in my school, like their work. They'll be like, "Hey, come visit my classroom. Just see what we're doing," which I love to see what other kids are doing.
Yeah.
So if you're doing cool things, share them. Or if you use any of these sites, you're like, "Hey, we found this, or we designed this in the site." That would be amazing.
Absolutely.
To see. So please share it.
Let us know.
Facebook, Twitter.
Twitter. Smartin WI.
That's me. Yeah.
Great.
Cool. On that note, well, thanks for tuning in. This has been the Tech Tools for Teachers podcast. If you ever have any questions, you can find me on Twitter at SmartinWI. And if you want to get more information on the links to the technology discussed in this episode, you can visit smartinwi.com or say hi to me on Facebook. There's new episodes each week. Thanks for listening. Go educate and innovate.
The ideas and opinions expressed in this podcast and the Smart in WI website are those of the author, Shanna Martin, and not of her employer. Prior to using any of the technologies discussed on the podcast, please consult with your employer regulations. This podcast offers no guarantee that the tools we discussed will work for you as we described, but we hope they do. And we will talk to you again next week on the Tech Tools for Teachers podcast.